Good morning. Today is Monday, the 5th day of Shevat. We'll begin today, chapter 20 in Tanya. And the Alter Rebbe is going to give us a very fundamental explanation in the next few chapters. And that is, we're talking about how it is easy. The Torah says it is easy for us to get to the point of serving God with love and with fear and do all the mitzvahs and so on. And we explained in the previous chapters how is it very easy, even to those people who are not capable to reach the level of love through understanding and meditating about the greatness of Hashem, and thereby creating a feeling of emotion, of love and fear of Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe explained that there is also the natural love, the hidden love. The hidden love is in each and every one. And this is a godly spark, so to speak, within each and every one. And when you have a person, when you realize that something is disconnecting you from Hashem, you would not do it. Like Avodah Zarah, like idol worship. This explains why every person, most people, most Jews, even those who are not with a religious background at all, will be ready to give up their lives, as has happened throughout history. People gave up their lives not to be disconnected from Hashem. Why is it? That is because of that hidden love that there is in every Jew. And this comes out and is revealed when the faith is challenged, when the connection with God is challenged. That love wakes up, that neshama wakes up. So this explains why every Jew is connecting to Hashem and doesn't want to be disconnected to Hashem. However, the problem is that this is only true regarding Avodah Zarah, idol worship. Idol worship, when it comes to such a severe thing, no one wants to do it. At least most people at least feel that connection with Hashem. But the Torah tells us that it is not only idol worship that a Jew will not do, but every single mitzvah, it says, Kikorei velecha. Every mitzvah is close to you. So how is it that every mitzvah is close to a person that you can be connected and do every single mitzvah with love and fear of Hashem? So this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, that when we're talking about idolatry, what is idolatry? Denying God. So he's going to explain that really every single mitzvah that we do connects us to Hashem. In order to understand this, he's explaining in short what he's going to explain later on in the Tanya in length, the concept of Achdus Hashem, the oneness of God, and that everything in the world is God. So, and when we look at it this way, when it comes to do a mitzvah, certain mitzvahs that it may seem like it's annoying to do this, so many details, why do I have to do this mitzvah, that mitzvah? Well, when you realize that this is a mitzvah, every mitzvah connects you with Hashem, that makes it easier. It takes the concentration of this concept that Hashem is everything, and everything what you do, what Hashem wants, you become one with Hashem. And otherwise it separates you. So that helps the person, when you have this meditation in the morning, it helps you throughout the day that it will be easy, close to you, to do the mitzvahs of Hashem. So let's look inside. Chapter 20. Says the Alter Rebbe, Moidas Zois Lakoil. It is known to all, Ki mitzvahs ve'azoras avodah zara, shem shnei dibros harishonim, anochi v'lo yeh lecha, em klolus kol haTorah kula. The commandment to believe in God and the prohibition of avodah zara, not to do idolatry, those are the first two of the 10 commandments. Those are the first two commandments, Anochi, I am God, and Lo yeh lecha, and you shall not have no other gods. So those two commandments, the first two commandments, klolus kol haTorah kula. They comprise the entire Torah. Why? Ki dibur anochi koilel kol ramach mitzvah, because the commandment I am God contains all 248 positive commandments. V'lo yeh lecha koilel kol shasa mitzvahs lo yisaseh. And the second commandment, you shall have no other gods. This contains all 365 prohibitions. V'lochein shamanu anochi v'lo yeh lecha levad mipi hagvura. And this is why our sages tell us that only these two commandments the Jewish people heard directly from Hashem, directly from God. Because they are the sum total of the whole Torah. Our sages tell us that only the first two commandments the Jewish people heard directly from God. After each commandment, they passed out, and Hashem, God, revived them. And after the second commandment, again they passed out, and God revived them again. And then they said, we can't hear it from God. They said to Moses, you should hear it from Hashem, and tell us what God said, because or else we will die. And it's interesting also. It says Torah. The word Torah also has a numerical value of 611. 611. So we say there's a verse that says Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moses commanded us the Torah. So the Torah is 611. That means 611 commandments out of the 613 we heard from Moses. Because the first two commandments, Anochi and Lo yeh lecha, we heard directly from Hashem. So we see these two commandments, the Jewish people heard directly from God. And why is it? Why is it? Because they contain the entire Torah. In other words, what Alter Rebbe is going to explain is that when a person realizes that every mitzvah is contained in the first two commandments, which is the commandment of believing in God and not denying God, not doing idolatry, then every mitzvah will be as important as idolatry. Will be as severe. However, we need to understand this. We need to understand what's the connection between all of the mitzvahs and these commandments. I mean, we can understand that the mitzvahs, we have, in the mitzvahs, we have the positive mitzvah and the negative mitzvahs. We can understand that the positive mitzvahs are connected with the believing in God, because if you don't believe in God, if you don't have the belief in God, there's no foundation to do the mitzvahs. Like the Medrash says, a king who came, he wanted to become king over his people. He told the people, first take me upon yourselves as your king, then I'll tell you what to do, then I'll give you my commandments. So we understand that Anoichi, I am your God, is the foundation of all the positive commandments. But what is the connection between the lo yilacha, do not have any other gods, to doing all other negative prohibitions? If I do one prohibition, it doesn't mean that I deny God. It's a prohibition. What's the connection? So this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, and he's going to explain in the next few chapters. Loving says the Alter Rebbe, loving it to understand, in order to understand this properly, tzorich le'azkir tchila b'ktzara inyan u'mahus achdusay shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need to briefly speak of the idea of the oneness, the unity of God. Shenikra Yachid u'meyuchad. God is called the one and unique. And as we say in the prayer, we say it on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, V'chol ma'aminim shehu levado hu. All believe that He is one alone. K'may she'aya kaidem shenivra ha'olam mamash. He is alone just like He was before the world was created. Amrim. And as we say in the morning prayer, there's different versions about on this sentence. But we say, Atohu achaloi nivra ha'olam, Atohu misha nivra chulu. We say, you are He who was before the world was created, and you are He who is since the world was created. So here the words, when we're saying you are He, what is the He? What are we saying? You are He. Say you are the before the world was created, and when you are after, what is the you are He? Says the Alter Rebbe that this is teaches us Pirush, the emphasis that the provided repeated the phrase you are He who means Mamash beli shum shinui kederchsiv ani Hashem lo yishonisi. It comes to teach us that this is what it means, is that this world really made no change in God whatsoever. Because when we think in human terms, everything what we do, every day we are not the same. You ate something, you're not the same as before you ate something. You learned something, you're not the same. You are now, before you learned, you are one without, you were the person without this knowledge. Once you learned something, you became the person with the knowledge. You're not the same. But when we're talking about Hashem, when we're talking about God, we say, Atohu, you are the same. Hashem is the same before the world was created and the same after, meaning nothing that happened in the creation of the world caused any changes in God. What does that mean? How could that be? How could we understand this? So the Alter Rebbe continues, and he explains. Because this world, and so too likewise all the supernal world, they do not affect any change in His unity by their having been created out of a state of nothingness. Just as God was one alone, single and unique, before they were created, so is He one alone, single and unique, after He created them. Mishum de kule kamei keloi chashiv. Because how can it be? What about all the creatures that were existed beside him, that exist beside him? Says the Alter Rebbe, because all is as naught beside him, as if absolutely non-existence. And the Alter Rebbe is going to use some examples to give us an understanding. Says because the coming into being of all the upper and lower worlds out of nothingness, and their life and their existence, meaning that force which sustains them. And this life force that makes them that they should be nothingness as not as they were before they were created. This is nothing other than the words of God that and the breath of his mouth that he clothed in these worlds. So everything that the world exists. How does the world exist? It is Hashem's creation. Hashem makes it exist constantly. If you want to use an example, the Alter Rebbe uses in other places. You say when you take when you take a rock, let's say you take a rock and you throw it up in the air. If somebody didn't see the person throwing the rock, would he think, and he sees a rock flying up, would he think that, oh, I came here in Brooklyn, rocks are flying up? No, obviously he'll know that there was a person or something that caused the rock to fly up. And now that the rock is flying upwards, it's not that the rock itself is flying up. It is the energy that the person put in the rock makes it going up. So that flying up is you see that there is the energy that a person is put it there. And that is the way Hashem created the world. Unlike when an artist creates a creation out of something else, he has the material to work with in order to create. But Hashem is creating something from nothing. Just like the energy, as to use this example, is when you throw the rock. So the energy is constantly in the rock while it's flying up, while it's going upwards. Once the energy is gone, the rock falls down. And the same thing is the creation of this world, that the creation is with Hashem's energy that constantly creates it, constantly, every single second, every single moment, Hashem recreates everything in this world. And yet the world really is as if not existing in the eyes of Hashem. And this we will continue tomorrow. Alter Rebbe is going to use the example of speech. The way Hashem created the world was with speech. So he's going to use the metaphor of speech the way it is by human. So, and again, what do we take from here? Alter Rebbe begins with the understanding that everything in this world is Hashem, and therefore everything that negates Hashem's will is in a way like denying Hashem's oneness. So when a person thinks about it, that when you do something, you connect to Hashem. And if you go against Hashem's will, it is negating Hashem, and no one wants to negate Hashem. No one wants to go against Hashem. So when you have this idea in thought, it helps you to create a more feeling of love and awe to Hashem, to God. And this way, to carry out the day the way Hashem wants. Thank you so much for joining. And please share, please subscribe, and let the word out. Let's Hashem will join us again tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Zoom, and the link is below. Have a wonderful day. Any questions?